All right, y'all. Ain't no Hastel Marcus J live from NewDen Legacy Internet Radio. I think we've gotten all of the nonsense and technical stuff and all of that stuff finally out of the way. It's something weird going on in the universe, in the space, in the room. John, Steph, we all think is it me? Is it my fault? Is it John's fault? Is it Steph's fault? Is it just the fact that the stars have aligned for all kinds of craziness to be happening at the same time, John?
It's the Illuminati.
Is that what it is? You know what I think it is? I think they trying to shut us down, y'all. That's what it is. But you know what?
They want our mind, soul, and our bodies.
Is that what it is? Is that what it is? Oh my goodness. All right. So this is what we're gonna do, right? Ain't no how stuff Marcus J. Live from New Den, Legacy Internet Radio. I had teased a few minutes ago on the show about how we were going to have a conversation about Gary Chambers. And we're gonna do that. Let's have a conversation about Gary Chambers. Steph, I want like if you could set up who this dude is so that when we play this clip, they'll have a little background, and then we're going to talk more specifically. We're going to have a conversation, not just about him, but we're going to have a conversation about Black folks supporting one another, a bigger conversation. And so lead us off with there, and then we'll get to it. Talk to me.
Okay, so Gary Chambers ran for office in the last senatorial election in Louisiana as a progressive Democrat. And one of his major platforms was centralized around mass incarceration of Black people relating to marijuana, and the misapplication of the laws in that state. But he also overall really was running a platform that was about the people, and he was running against John Kennedy, or John Neely Kennedy, who people have seen before. He is a traditional Southern super conservative that is very closely aligned with Trump. So in that election, after everything that was done, John Neely Kennedy was reelected. 61% of the electorate voted for him, and only, I believe, 16% of the electorate voted for Gary Chambers. He was the next closest. And this all came right after he made the statement about Mexicans and Black people in there. Not him, but after John Neely Kennedy made statements that were called, that people literally disavowed as racist. Once all that was done, this election passed, Chambers lost, and only 24% of the Black electorate came out to vote.
24%.
24%.
24%.
Many of them in different platforms, they said that, Chambers was abrasive when he didn't agree with you, or very assertive about what he believed in, and so on and so forth, which is, hello, he's a politician. I mean, he should be. But also, many of them said that they did not like that he embraced Sean King. And that was one of the reasons they didn't vote for him.
Sean King. All right, let's hear about Sean King. Yeah. All right, let's hear from Gary Chambers. Play this ad, and then we'll have a quick conversation about him.
State and local police have arrested an estimated 7.3 million Americans for violating marijuana laws, over half of all drug arrests. Black people are 4 times more likely to be arrested for marijuana laws than white people. States waste $3.7 billion enforcing marijuana laws every year. Most of the people police are arresting aren't dealers, but rather people with small amounts of pot, just like me. I'm Gary Chambers, and I'm running for the U.S. Senate, and I approve this message.
Now, you already know. Come on, man. It's going to be some people that's going to be scared to death of this dude. You know what I'm saying? For more reasons than what John and I are tongue-in-cheek clowning about, right?
He's a 38-year-old.
Yeah.
Excuse me, progressive.
I already love you. You already know I love to do. He already got my attention. You already know. You know, I never heard of this dude before this moment.
That's actually not true.
Not true.
Listen, I never seen that video before. I've never seen that video before. I've never heard that word before. That dude looks like the comedian that plays the organ while he's doing his comedy.
No,
The black guy and all this. He looks like that
no,
dude. And,
you guys, back when he was running, so this was the last election cycle.
22.
So this would have been November 8th, 2022. We played that video.
That?
We did.
Wow, I don't
And-
remember that.
And
I'm an
we
archive.
were-
I'm
y'all
fine.
were laughing about
I might have
the
been in
fact
DR
that
or
he was
something.
sparking up in in the video. And we were like, okay, this is a whole new level. So yes, we watched it before. And okay, so is it are you running a risk running a campaign? And back then I even said this, it's a very risky campaign ad. But it is no more risky than coming down a gold escalator and telling people they're going to send us rapists about an entire grouping of people, and then turning around and saying that you want to close the border to an entire region that sends brown people, and then calling brown countries with brown and black people shitholes. So, I mean, it's really no more, except for the fact that you put a black man in an ad sparking up a J.
Now,
And-
here's the thing,
I
though.
got something for that. But yeah.
Black people didn't come out to vote. 24%.
24%.
And then when you see,
And the DNC did not spend a lot of money on him either.
so
And he was the top candidate.
so would that mean that the DNC, which I have my opinion, would that mean? But I'm asking you, would that mean that the DNC did not support him specifically?
Well, when I saw the person who is the chairperson for the DNC in Louisiana, she did spend money on a really nice ad for herself. I don't know why. There is no reason. But she was carrying a rifle she had all the markings of a Republican pretending to be a Democrat, which they've been doing lately to make sure that they get those seats and then come out as Republicans. So there was, it did seem like there was a little, a saboteur in the mix. However, that ad that you see, I only knew about it because it went viral. That's why we spoke about it when we did. It went viral. In order for it to get viral, it was big in his state first.
Yeah.
People knew who he was. The people who were coming out wholeheartedly, and this was a conversation on Twitter, were not talking about the fact that the advertisements or there wasn't enough. And this was Black people. It was very much about his demeanor. And, they didn't like how assertive and how aggressive he was, which was crazy to read coming from people who look like you, right? About someone that looks like you. But then, we're kind of trained to repeat the narrative anyway. But then it was that he aligned himself with Shaun King.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Shaun King has no bearing on your politics. Who cares? That would be like if I'm trying to run for, the borough president in Brooklyn and they're mad because I'm friends with you. It's irrelevant.
Yeah.
It just didn't
So-
seem right that's one of their main reasons.
Our brother Jalil from Jersey City, by way of ATL, peace to you, brother. He said that the name that we were forgetting was Craig Robinson.
Craig Robinson.
Perhaps is who
Yes,
you
I
may
love
you,
Craig
you
Robinson.
may you may have been thinking about. John, you want to jump in on this one? What you
He
got?
does look like
Yeah. Thank you, bro. So here's the deal, right? The reason why Republicans get away with their crap, because when they have these conversations, they use the language, right, that their people identify with,
Sure.
right?
He didn't.
He didn't use the language, and his presentation was off. Had he run that same ad with that same words and went wire, let's say instead of that chair and a nice suit, he had a couch and he was sitting up on it like they do in the wire. Because you see them bracelets and stuff he had on, that didn't rock with the suit. You know what I'm saying?
There
If
is some imaging and messaging.
Right. If he
issues, I
had
would
on
say.
if he had on like a Bob Marley t-shirt, he was sitting up on the couch like that, and he sparked it like how we spark. You know how you spark. He wasn't smoking it like a cigar, but he was smoking it like a blunt. He was like, yo, every 27 seconds. Like on some
You're
DMX.
saying he really didn't get to the people
Right.
from a messaging
Because
and imaging
I'm
standpoint.
not the people who he wanted to identify with him, the other however many percent of Black people that didn't come out, that's because they didn't identify with
So
that.
let
They
me-
thought
let
he was
me-
clowning it.
Let me tell you, and I'm going to say this from the perspective of based on what I do for a living. I agree with you. There was some imaging and branding messaging. I don't agree that it was that. I believe that within politics, what we'll always have to remember is that the majority of the Black voting bloc is emotionally conservative, not just conservative. Black people are emotionally conservative, and so we are tied to how we're perceived by white folk. So here you go out here, and they're like, I don't want to seem like I'm voting for this Negro that smokes weed. Now you're in Louisiana. Majority of the elder voting bloc is going to disconnect from that, and they are the people. They're going to show up, right? They are going to show up. Then you go into the fact that the voter turnout was really low with younger people. He even missed it with a wide block of Black women. Black women are religious and conservative in a lot of ways. So even with marijuana as one of, I truly do not believe there are certain states that are ready. And I've worked on some political campaigns behind the scenes with messagings and things like that. Southern states are not ready for that to be your primary platform. I believe he could have got elected speaking about wrongful incarceration, tying it very differently, but he tried to be too progressive in a state that is overwhelmingly red is going to kill you every time. The messaging needed to be pulled back in a different way. It really did.
I think if he would have had Lil Wayne do the commercial, he'd have got a lot more votes.
He might have got a lot more votes, but he wouldn't have won.
I don't know if he can win.
Yeah.
Like I still do not believe in the honesty of the electoral process, to be honest with you. I don't know if there was any way he could have won, period.
Well, I mean, you're in an overwhelmingly conservative state. And I will also say this.
We're concerned to see, this is the thing people don't understand. A lot of problem is people don't know what they're doing when it comes to elections. When it comes to registered voters, when you're talking about the populace and who the people are,
the registered vote, I absolutely agree.
But how we bring them out with a little bit of honesty and appealing to who they are. Not, you cannot win a battle. You cannot win a war fighting by the rules handed to you by your opponent.
That's true. I want to put a bow on it there because there's so many more things that we need to talk about tonight. So I will close this piece out so that we can do that, but I'll take the last word on it. You know, I find it, and I think getting to the heart of what the part of why we wanted to bring that up, and had we not been plagued with technical stuff earlier, unfortunately, we would have had more time to spend in this. But I think that the overarching thing that we need to talk about, that we can talk about more in future shows, is why we don't support one another. There's many opportunities for those of us who are a part of the political landscape to see people who look like us, who sound like us, who move like us, who are our age, who are as invested in problem solving as we are. And we don't support them over stupid shit like he supported Sean King.
Absolutely.
Like, that's stupid shit, you know? And I don't want to tag my wagon to stupid shit. I don't want to be the guy that does not listen to somebody because of who that guy happens to listen to. You know what I mean? That if we would have done that, we would have never had Barack Obama as the president, because he lived next door to Farrakhan and he went to church with Jeremiah White. Right. And you know what I'm saying? And somehow we figure it out, you know what? Electing him is bigger than that.
Yes.
Now, obviously, that was a national audience, and I agree that Louisiana, there might be some issues with education. There might be some issues with, you know, understanding political process, and that's not a shot to those people. But whenever you have, and this is something that Big Rube did in 2012 on this show, when we were looking at the education, the actual education of the electorate from state to state. And it was found that the southern states, well, let me back up because there's two pieces to this. It was found that the Republican states, the Republican-led states, or the states that had a higher population of Republican registered voters, consistently were the people with the lower education. And so that tells you something. Louisiana is about as red as it gets. And then people down there ain't smart enough to know that they need to be trying to look outside of the box and perhaps vote for the black dude that smokes some weed because he might just be able to get you some of the things that you're looking for. But you're not trying to vote for him because not only is he a black dude and he smokes some weed, even though you growing in your backyard. You see what I'm saying? So it's a whole lot that goes to that. And with more time, of course, we would spend more time. And Uncle H found the new feed. He is with us because we love him. Uncle H, thank you, brother. He says the master's tool will not dismantle the master's house.
Woo!
Audrey Lord. Big John is right.
Audrey Lord.
Ain't no how stepping with Marcus J live from NewDen Legacy Internet Radio. So in the it's about an hour before we need to shift to our rants and our close. I don't often do this, but I'm doing this for a reason, right? In the next hour, we need to go through Stephaso's Green Talk. We need to talk about the war in Israel and the humanitarian effect with regards to that. And we need to talk about Jada Smith and her new book, Worthy, in the next hour. So we're going to go through and make sure that we give the respect and time to each of them. But I need y'all to watch me and follow me and make sure that y'all help me get us through it. So that's for you guys, the listeners and viewers, and that's for the usual suspects. Ain't no how Steph Marcus J live from NewDen Legacy Internet Radio. So we're gonna start with Stephasodes. And I'm very, very, very much interested in this piece because it is a piece of information that is very, very close to my heart because I like to do this. So I just tipped Steph's hand. She will give you more specifically what we're talking about in Stephasodes. You ready for us?
I am.
All right. What you got?
So about maybe 3 years ago, I started communicating with a woman who created a movement called the Nap Society. And her thing was to encourage people to take naps and to see naps as a form of reparation. And the way that she looked at it was so interesting in that we were trained by our forebears and their forebears and their forebears to see rest as lazy, to see napping as lazy, to the minute the sun's up, you better get out of bed. And then to apply that no matter what day of the week. Now you need to get up on Saturday at 7 a.m. and immediately start cleaning. You must go into work mode and so on and so forth. And there are plenty of people who can tell you the story of my mother wanted you out of the bed by a certain time and cleaning on a Saturday and saw you sleeping in as problematic on the one day you may have off from school or whatever it may be. And she really encouraged Black people to see rest as a part of taking back your power. So I was having a conversation with one of my uncles who I love, and we were talking about retirement and what retirement should look like, should feel like. And one of the things that I said to him that I always found sad is that many Black people work until retirement is forced upon them through lack of ability. I'm too old to do. I'm too old to keep working for the post office. I'm too old to keep swinging a sledgehammer. Whatever it's going to be, there's always these things of where I watch so many Black people work way past when they should be able to retire, even if they have the money to retire. And they will say things like, well, I don't know what else I would do, as if there is nothing else to do. And often it's because when we were talking, I said, I noticed that many people will say, when I retire, maybe I'm going to fish more, right? Say someone says that, I'm going to fish more, but they do not fish on their days off. They don't do that. That's not a part of their normal behavior anyway. So going from 0 to 60 is a much harder metric for someone. And so often, because we don't take rest, and I don't just mean rest for nap purposes, I look at it as respite, time away, whatever it is that you do, yoga, time at the lake, or excuse me, at the river, or traveling, those sort of things are forms of respite. And Black people historically on this soil have been removed from their right to rest or take respite, and additionally are now working hard to prove they're not lazy, which is ridiculous to me considering where we come from, and that currently we are the greater part of all of the hardest working service industries out there. And so my challenge in this moment is for people to understand that in order to retire not just financially well, because you can retire with money and then everything else fails you because you didn't prepare for it. So, not just to retire financially well, but while you are still in a space where you work and other things, identify who you are outside of that work. How do you rest? How do you commandeer respite? How do you get time away? Because trying to turn that mechanism on when you retire is not as easy as people think. I'm in the midst of a book called The Power of Habit, and working it into some of my coaching and consulting. And Black people have to, my challenges and my challenging statement is Black people need to understand how to form the habit of respite, how to include the habit of resting in their life. And it doesn't always have to look like a nap. So that being said, one of my first questions is that something you notice within your own familial population or your own community population? How, pop up worked sun up to sundown, Sunday church, Saturday was the yard, the garage, whatever it was. And when retirement comes, still wearing those work clothes, still wakes up every day as though they're going to work, but they don't do anything because they never prepared for the peace of relaxing.
Yeah. Yeah.
As though, in that, I will say this to anybody who's listening. I think of someone like Uncle H, who represents the elder population of our community. You deserve rest, Black people. You deserve an opportunity to not be working yourself into the ground, whether that's post retirement or while you're still working. I don't care if you're a 30 or 40 something year old. You learn how to treat yourself as an elder when you're young.
Yeah.
Or you just don't pick up the habit later. It's hard to teach yourself to step away from work as a burden and treating rest as a right. So
I love that. It's one of the things, John, Steph, that I'm taught as a yogi to appreciate rest. So you can tell them how I responded when I saw that this is something that we were going to talk about in Steph episodes. I was very excited
the
about it.
heart emoji,
Yeah,
the joy.
yeah.
That's my thing.
That's my thing, right? So in yoga class, right, there's a format to most of them. You started off with the meditation, and then you warm yourself up. Often you start a class on the mat, sitting down in a what we call cross-legged pose, or maybe laying on your back and what we call a corpse pose, right? And then you work your way up. So you go through your meditation, and then maybe on your hands and knees, or maybe on your back doing a bridge, and then eventually you stand in what's called a sun salutation. And then you go down, and then you get your heat, you build your heat, you work, and then you slow it down to the end of the practice, where you again find yourself in corpse pose and what's called shavasana. Shavasana is the piece that many of us yogis look the most forward to, because this is where we get to rest. You didn't spend the last 50 minutes, up and down and stretching and doing all kinds of stuff. And in the last 5 minutes, you get to rest. It's called Shavasana. And we revel in it. If you're a yogi, you know about Shavasana. We joke about it in class, as the instructor will lead you through some of the more difficult poses that you will go through. And they'll say, it's all right, Shavasana is coming, because we all anticipate rest. Shavasana represents rest. And one of the things that I have found with regards to the practice of yoga that I love so much is that it's very allegory to how our lives go and how our days can go. You start your day in meditation. And then as you make your way through the morning, you begin to build up. Around noon, you are in the sun salutation. You are standing fully erect and ready to face the day. That is as busy as you're going to get. And then on the back nine of the day, or your work day rather, you slowly build towards slower motions and your rest. And so as a yogi, I'm taught the importance of rest. So this is right down my street. Ain't no how Steppin Marcus J live from NewDen Legacy and Radio. Uncle H says, so right, Steph B. I worked under 72 when COVID hit and the health started going south, resting full time now. My sister says I rest too much. There is no such thing, Uncle H, certainly for a retired person. Last thing I'll say about this, and then I'll give John the con, is Pops J. My pops is 81 years old, right? And he worked. Yeah, I called his age out, John. I know you don't like when I call people's ages out.
Mainly women.
Double nickel. Anyway, when he retired the first time after 36 years for the United States Postal Service, he chilled for a few months and was like, yeah, I can't do this. And he ended up getting a job as a security guard where he worked for another 15 years. So now the dude got 2 pensions. And my brother, he actually works in security too, and I know I'm gonna pay for this, but I call them both old Otis. What you talk about, boy? What you talking about? Both of them old Otis. So anyway, I'm gonna pay for that. But I'm in Virginia and in New Jersey. They gotta catch me. All right, John, what you got?
Well, I'm going to speak to it from a different aspect as the retired person in the room. It's a challenge. It's a mental and emotional challenge to settle down, right? I had it planned. I thought I was going to do it, and I had an idea of how I was going to transition. It took a while. It took a couple of years, going on almost 3 years before I settled into retirement, because your mind is racing, your body wants to move, but you are consciously not doing things because you know what it sets off, right? You can't, in the environment, in the tri-state area where we're all from, the environment doesn't allow for a halfway performance, right? Whatever you're doing, you are doing it to death. You are trying to eliminate anybody else that's doing it. You want to be the first person in. You want to get it done. You want to be number one. That you don't know there is no number two. There's only the winner, and the rest are all losers. And you approach things like that, and you have that mentality. And when you're ready to let it go, it's hard when it carries into like. And then I did an issue. A lot of people don't do the same. I retired and then moved to a different environment. So mentally and emotionally getting that rest, and people confuse sleep and rest. They're not the same thing. Because if you go to sleep and your body's sleeping, but your mind is still active, you will not be rested, right? You got to be able to shut your mind down, shut your energy down. And believe it or not, a lot of times in retirement, the people around you will drive you nuts because they have an expectation of your continued locomotion. Like they have this anticipation of you getting up and going somewhere. Nobody wants to leave the house and come back and find you in the same spot that you was in. Trust me. That will end your stuff, man. Right? So you gotta now, you're not working, but now you gotta find stuff to get you out the house because you don't want to get caught in that spot when you can't, because you ain't doing. Oh no. No. You ain't go. You ain't.
Man tax.
I don't care. I don't care. I didn't say it, but I don't care what bill you paying. You ain't gonna be up in here not doing nothing. But I did this and I did that. Nah, I need to see you do something. I need to see you go somewhere and come back with a little bit of sweat. And I need some complaints about it. I need to hear about somebody getting on your nerves about something, because otherwise you ain't doing it. So it's
real personal
I'm
around
The,
here.
the fact that it is so funny
It's
and so
hilarious
real
because I believe
is
it.
so real. Like, this is where we like get into how we editorialize our real shit.
But
I love
but
it.
truly to the
but it's
point.
but to get rest, I'm now 2018. I'm 5 years plus, almost 6 years fully retired, and I'm really just getting rest.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I'm really just getting rest. I'm really just settled into my situation. And one other part before we move on with the retirement, people don't understand that, you said not speaking financially, but that's a big deal, because you figure like this: if you at 30, you picked up a 30-year mortgage, it's paid off at 60, but you got to consider that during that time you've remodeled the kitchen and all the bathrooms at least once. And then when you retire after 30 years, it's time to do it again. You got to put a new roof on that sucker, right? Now you did all of that, and you got the money that you was paying in mortgage, but the money that you got coming in is about a third of what you had coming in before. And yeah, you don't got to pay the mortgage bill. All the other bills are still there, and they higher than they were. So people don't plan for that. And a lot of them can't get into the 401k. A lot of them can't do that because then it's a high tax burden, and they don't know the rollover and all this other kind of stuff. So they're not prepared. And then anything that you might want to do is going to cost. It's going to cost, right? And if you keep it every 4 years, you pick up a new car. Yeah, your note might be the same or a little less or a little more, but that's still a note. And you got insurance, medical costs, and all. Listen, it pays a toll on your mental and emotional state, having to deal with the reality that your bills don't retire with you, right? So now, talking about rest, taking a nap, structural rest. I used to, when I work 7 days a week, 12 to 18 hours a day, which I did for over 20 years, I really didn't sleep. I meditated. I used to do meditation for like a half hour as opposed to sleeping, and I would get up and go sometimes without sleep. And then when I did sleep, it would be in 2 to 4 hour increments, then with meditation tied to it, because you don't got time for that. So yeah, you got to structure your rest, because there's no such thing as make up sleep. People don't believe you can make up. You can't. You sleep or you don't, right? And when you don't, you can't make it up. So yeah, Steph, great subject on Steph.
Yeah, I love it. And how Steph Marcus say live from NewDen Legacy and Radio. Steph, you want to take the final word?
I just really encourage people to, and I intentionally left out, we talk about retirement financially and everything, but I intentionally left that out because even the poor deserve to rest.
Oh.
And I don't want to associate it only with that, because if you really think about it, the reason that black people are the least rested is because there's a belief that the poor don't get it. It's not your privilege. And we happen to amass a large part of the lower socioeconomics in the country. So I'm encouraging people as we end to recognize that you too deserve rest. You don't have to be middle class, upper class, billionaire to deserve rest. It's a right for for humanity, and it will change how you produce at any stage in your life. I get less sleep. I don't mind it admitting that I was diagnosed with adrenal fatigue. My body is running because I get 2 or 3 hours of sleep a night and still function. And then I might go 6 months doing that. And then I need 2 days where I don't
crash.
Yeah. I'm still up. I'm home. I don't want to go out. I don't, and so I'm going to start to value the benefit of rest. And truly, I don't want to take that benefit away from someone because they don't know how they're going to retire, because retirement is not a promise if you don't rest. You can work yourself into an early grave.
Yeah.
So rest is not it is not relegated to the wealthy. And that is why your grandfather worked and died a year later.
Yeah.
That is why your grandmother has been living longer than him, because she was likely home. So she worked within the home, but it is a restful domain because she made it that, right? It's important to understand that you don't have to. And for the person that comes in and tells you, Uncle H, that you need to do more, there is a difference. There's a difference between the body being at rest and the mind being at rest, to a point that John made. And there is also the fact that you get to make your rest look like what you want. So in RVA, Uncle H, if your rest looks like chilling with a plate of ribs on your back patio and watching and watching the sun go down, or sitting at your favorite window in your favorite chair, then you do it.
Yeah. Nah, I dig that. Ain't no hot step Marcus J. Live from NewDen Legacy and that radio. You got the perfect final word on that topic. Let us move on. We're going to shift. We know that we have a war going on in the world right now. There's a war going on Israel's soil, and it involves the terror group Hamas that made some strikes on some Israel targets last week. And when they did that, they included one of the concerts, and they killed civilians, and it was pretty graphic. I remember the day that it went down. I was in New Jersey. I was sitting at the coffee table with moms and pops, and I was getting the information from the elders as they were sharing with me their feelings about the wars that they have seen in their lifetime fought on Palestinian land that, of course, is inhabited by the Israeli people. In 1948, of course, the UN, led by the United States and England, worked towards Israel being repatriated to that land that was already Palestinian land. These are historical facts. These aren't things to be disputed. Often, when these things come up, you are pegged with the phrase anti Semitism. It's just not anti Semitism when you speak in the facts. So, continuing with the facts, the terror group Hamas, which is not a group that is affiliated with anything other than themselves, they have a directive to kill Israel, to kill Jewish people, to kill Jewish people. They inhabit the land of Gaza, which is a small strip of land, 25 square miles, I believe it is, on the land of Israel, which I've heard described as about the size of Delaware. And this is the area that Hamas inhabits. Since 2006, 7, or 8, somewhere in there, they have been inhabiting this land, and they do not do that at the pleasure of the Palestinian people who inhabit Gaza. The Palestinian people do not feed into Hamas, and Hamas does not answer to them. Hamas is their own people, is their own group, and their directive is to kill Jewish people, which they did last week. Now, last Monday, we talked about this a little bit. Tonight, we're going to talk about it a little bit more, and John is going to focus Green Talk on this. But let me just kind of set a few more things up, then I'll turn the con over to you. On the day last Saturday when Hamas attacked on Israeli land, the Israeli government decided that how they were going to retaliate was they were going to eradicate Israeli land, which includes Gaza, of all of Hamas. The unfortunate reality is there are millions and millions of, well, 2 million, as they say, Palestinians that live in this small space of land. Now, these are humble, innocent people who inhabit this land. The unfortunate reality is the terrorist organization lives in a space. So, to kind of put it in American terms, imagine the worst neighborhood in your town, and you got your family that lives in the worst neighborhood in your town, but the worst gang in your town also lives in the worst neighborhood of your town. And the mayor says, well, we're going to bomb them projects. I'm sorry that there are innocent people that live in them projects, but the worst gang in town, they live in them projects. So we're going to smoke them out. And all of the innocent people who happen to live here, sorry. Sorry that you live there. Sorry that the gang members also live there, but we finna smoke them out. We finna smoke them out. So that is what's happening in Israel right now. It's sad because while we know the history of how the Israeli country was created, there's a lot of humanitarian disasters that's going on. First started by this terror organization against the country of Israel, and the country of Israel retaliating on the neighborhood where that terror organization lives, which happens to be the neighborhood where the innocent Palestinians live. And it's a vicious, vicious cycle. And it's very, very saddening to many of us. I'm not someone who has, as we say, a dog in this race. So the politics of being a Jewish person and having pride in the Israeli state, I don't share that. I don't understand that. I'm not someone who's a Jewish person who has that as a very personal thing. I'm very detached with that because I'm looking at the history of it. So please remember, and I parse my language in that kind of rhetoric. That's where I'm coming from with it. And respectfully, those who view and acknowledge the Black experience here in America after having been brought here by white people, European white people that have already stolen land and brought stolen people to farm stolen land here in America, my perspective might be different than what an Israeli person or a Jewish person or a Palestinian person might view or might think. So remember that when you hear me speak. If you want to call me anti-Semite, do what you got to do. I think it's bullshit whenever people task or cause other folks to be tagged with an anti-Semitism when they're just speaking their truth based upon the history that they're explaining. But if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. I'm not gonna argue with you. No, I'm not. I'm just trying to understand. So I think I have it set up the way I wanted to have it set up. So from here, we're going to shift. We're going to talk about I'm sorry, y'all. I just got distracted. Something came across me. We're going to talk about the effect of the war and what it's having on the economy, and that is where we are going to have John pick up in Green Talk. Ain't no hashtag Marcus J live from NewDen Legacy and Radio. John, you have the con here, bro. You got it.
Quick question though: are we addressing the war as a whole?
Well, it's all of that's on the table.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to make it a one-stop shop. So I really want to, but I'm not going to get into the context of the Israel-Palestinian states. I'm just not. That's another conversation for another day. What I will say is this: when you have sat down in a room with people, and before you had to go in that room, your cell phone and your jewelry and your personal belongings were locked in a lockbox, and you was given a key and somebody else had another key to that box before you went in the room and the door was closed, you understand that people make these decisions. Since World War One, there hasn't been a conflict on this planet that wasn't planned out. Right? These are acts, right? The leaders of the Israeli government, the leaders of the Palestinian government, and the leaders of Hamas, right? Along with all the other ancillary leaders, are in much more comfortable places than we're in right now. And this is pretty comfortable, right? They're sitting in rooms with Corinthian leather chairs, right? They have drinks, they have menus that they order from, right? And they discuss death. They discuss life and death because they have a calculator, right? And they go, let's be clear. Israel has a missile defense system that's better than the United States, and we gave it to them, right? No missiles coming into Israel that they don't want to come into Israel. I'm guaranteeing it. Anybody who thinks I'm lying, I don't know what to tell you, right? Somebody sat down and said, how many dead do we need to get about $2 billion tomorrow? Because we want to put that towards something. How much of it do we have to put on the news? What's going to be the language? How many babies? They figured this out. Same thing. Okay, we're going to do this. Now, guess what?
John,
The death toll on the Israel side carries a much higher price tag than the death on the Palestinian side because they have the better press, right? So you might do 200 dead in Israel with 50 of them being children, right? And you're going to get $2 to $4 billion in a couple of hours through donations and certain things or whatever, and you're going to make a move. Now, for Palestinians, for Hamas to get that kind of money, you got to add a zero to that death toll. But they're going to get that money too. Because guess what? When we left Afghanistan, we left over $40 billion worth of weaponry in Afghanistan. Guess where Hamas gets their weapons from? They get them from Iran. Guess where Iran gets it from? They get it from somebody else. But guess what? They all American-made weapons, right? All of that stuff. And here's the problem. Even with the missile defense system that Israel has, if they don't use that system, if they don't use their countermeasures to attack, then they won't have to buy more countermeasures. So they got to use them for somebody to make money. Everybody's making money on this, on every aspect of it. We sent 2 aircraft carrier packages, right? Not just aircraft carriers, but aircraft carrier packages. That comes with a couple of frigates, a battleship, a submarine, a supply thing, which is part of a bigger supply chain, other support boats, other weaponry. We sent 2 of those. 2 of those aircraft carrier packages could defeat the Russian military alone. But we sent that over there to posture for them. You know why? Because we spent money. Now I'll get into the green talk of that, because what's it doing for the economy? Lockheed Martin is through the roof. Boeing is through the roof. Everybody that makes bullets, weapons, and planes, stock is through the roof. You know why? Because it's selling like hotcakes. And the price is going up because they get no big contracts, right? Everybody who's aware of this, who knew about it before, watch the trading. A lot of the senators, right? You can monitor, because it's free. You can monitor the senators' trade activity. They bought it before the Saturday. They bought Lockheed Martin. They doubled down on Boeing. They doubled down on it. There's the ammunition warehouse, I think is in Arizona. I'm not 100% sure. Somebody out there help me. That exploded 2 days ago, right? And the reason it exploded because it had a whole bunch of old munition in it. So they blew it up. You know why? Because now they got a special order for new ammunition, and they doubled the price. All of this is about money, right? Because if you take the money away from it, I guarantee you there would be no dead, right? And I also guarantee you, if you had the families of the people in charge involved in a physical way with any of this, they would find a peaceful way. It's easy to talk about it. It's real simple. They got treaties. They got treaties in place since 1967 or 68. Abide by the treaties. Abide by the rules. Palestinian government 30-something years ago denounced all violence, shut down the PLO, right? Shut down everything. And all they've been doing is living peacefully, right? So whom? Oh, that don't work. All of a sudden, Hamas is created. Where did Hamas come from? Didn't come from the Palestinian government. It didn't. They just came out of nowhere. Now they're a terrorist group doing this terroristic stuff and all this kind of stuff, and they're getting funded. They know where the money's coming from. They know where the money's coming from, bro. So this whole situation, it's all a play. It's all a theater. The only real thing going on is death. And people making billions and trillions of dollars off the lives of people who have no idea. The average Israeli person who lives in Israel, who's not involved in the government, although everybody who's an Israeli citizen has to serve in the armed forces,
Yes.
right? But the idea of the average Israeli person who goes out and goes to work, a school teacher, whatever, they don't want no. But the people who got caught up in the concert, they don't want no parts of this, and they really don't got no beef with the Palestinians. They really don't, right? Because walking down the street, unless somebody tell you, you don't know who's who. There's no real look difference, right? Unless they're wearing some kind of garb or whatever, and them people, right? A lot of Palestinians went to school in Israel. And let's be clear, Gaza, you made a very, very wonderful analogy about the neighborhood and the projects. But the only difference is, right, this neighborhood and this project is not serviced by the city. They cut it off. No water, no sanitation, no resources, no anything. So it's working on its own without resources. And you're not allowed to give them anything. Because if you give them something, right, you are deemed anti-Semitic for giving to them.
Hold on, they are serviced. Just for clarity's sake, they're serviced by the Israeli state. So every 15 days, Palestinian people get water delivery. If you use it, it's what it is.
Right?
No, but we have to be there. When I feel like with stories like this, when there's an emotional perspective, and you're right about the financial perspective, it's important not to muddle the small details, because the small details matter. So it matters that they do get water, because it's important to talk about the fact that they have a moratorium on when they can get it and they receive it. And the reason that it's able to be cut off from them is because Israel rations it to them.
Right.
So I think it's important to have that be clear, that their water, their food, there are 7 different areas in which they live under a ration state that is consistent until, right? And so the problematic piece of that needs to be stated clearly, because in these situations, particularly when you have two, this is not 2 countries at war, both of your points. This is a designated terrorist organization, and I do use the quotes because let me just jump in there a little bit with the money thing. So I tweeted this out earlier, and people started talking about it, because politics is incestuous by nature, and we tend to be the father that's having sex with all the babies. I'm sorry to say it that way. It's a horrible analogy, but the United States is birthing these babies. It's sleeping with its sisters, aunts, uncles, and cousins. That's what the United States is doing. So Qatar is the strongest connection to Hamas. And then Hamas and Israel are currently at war. The U.S. and Qatar are strategic partners. The U.S. and Israel historically and economically tied. And then Qatar and Israel are at arm's length. They have issues with one another. The U.S. is at the center of all of it. So financially, we will never step away. We will always err on the side of almost Zionism light, right, as the United States, because of all those people we mentioned, one of them has nuclear power and gets their arms specifically from us all of the time, and that would be Israel.
Directly from us.
That's right. So we can't disconnect. But we also are making money with Qatar. Qatar makes money with Hamas. We are now saying we stand against Hamas, but we're standing for Israel. So it is hugely incestuous. And it's important to know that at the center of every war, there is one commonality, and it is always the world power of the United States.
Right. So thank you for being far more eloquent with my point than I was. And the only thing I will say 100% in agreements with you with the rationalists, Palestine and Gaza more directly has been described as an open air prison.
It is.
Right. So again, I will say this all the time when I say it about the media. There's nothing that gets distributed to you. There's nothing that we see and hear that is public that has not been written, rewritten, and strategically dispensed for our consumption. And that includes this conflict.
Which is also why Biden could come out and make such an emphatic statement after the prime minister mentioned that while we know Palestinian people are not the problem within this, that he was willing to basically decimate Hamas. And decimating Hamas, we've already acknowledged is going to require decimating Palestinian people, and we still got behind that
And
statement.
there's a bigger disconnect between
No
Palestine
daylight.
and Hamas.
No daylight.
Listen, there's a
Agreed.
bigger and truthfully, anybody who poli-sci majors and historian majors, start getting your thesis ready, because I'm telling you this now. There's a larger separation between Palestine and Hamas than it is between the United States and Hamas.
There's
I'm
that.
telling you that.
Yeah. Well, I thought you were gonna say Israel.
Israel. I really think Israel.
I
But when
thought
you
you was gonna
look at
say
that
Israel.
little-
I was about to fist bump
Listen,
you,
listen.
but I thought you was
Israel,
gonna say
guess
Israel.
what? Israel,
Because you just
for this-
basically
That's what
said
it is.
for this,
No
for
fair.
this matter, Israel is the United
you
States.
because you basically said that the United States is closer to being a terrorist organization than they are to being for people. That's essentially what
Right,
you said.
but
and if that's what you mean, then that's what you
right,
mean.
no. What I mean
I
is
don't
this. What I
co-sign
mean is
that.
this.
I don't-
No,
Hold
no,
on,
no,
hold
no.
on.
That's not
I
what I
don't.
meant. I want
But
to
that's
clear it out.
what it sounded
Here,
like.
this is what I mean. What I mean is, from a political party, right? From a historical standpoint, Palestinian has a governing body. That governing body, as it aligns itself and what it does and what it represents, is further disconnected by its friends, by its actions, and by its finances, is further separated from Hamas than the United States is, because the United States has direct lines through Qatar and through many others. Most of They will not tell you this. The majority of the weapons being fired at Israel by Hamas is supplied by the U.S., whether they gave it to them directly or not. And they know this.
Well, we know.
Palestine didn't give them nothing.
Yeah, but maybe Iran did. And Iran has been known to make their own shit, which is the reason why we fighting with them.
If
So-
if Iran had gave them the bombs that they used, they would have never made it through,
Well,
right? Because
I
Iran
honestly,
used dirty bombs.
here's what I will say, right? I'm not one that is. I mean, I could debate anybody on anything. I could walk into any room and be comfortable with the janitor or the president. I'm that dude. I don't want to make this about how I feel about the war side, because I'm not a war dude. I'm a peace dude. And the peace dude in me is more concerned about the humanitarian issues that's going on. The peace dude in me gets frustrated when anytime you state the fact of the Israeli country and how it was created, you get tagged anti-Semite. The peace dude in me gets frustrated when the conversation always ends up talking about the Israeli innocence and rarely the Palestinian innocence. And it's upsetting for me, especially when we see in Chicago 2 days ago, you had a man who apparently was frustrated about what's going on in the other side of the world, and his neighbors slash people who he was the landlord for, a woman and a 6-year-old boy, he killed the boy and severely wounded the mom. This is the thing that is happening when we see what's going on there and their descendants around the world, or the people who support whatever side you want around the world, begins to make actions, particularly here in this country. An American Palestinian young boy is 6 years old, stabbed 26 times. His mama stabbed and brutally assaulted. She didn't lose her life, but she didn't get to say goodbye to her son because of what happened to her son. Like, this war happening on Israel land physically is happening in spirit right here in this country, when you find that American people attack people of races that are not aligned with theirs. As Black people, we know that better than anybody. We know about how they come and they fuck with us just because they don't want us here. It's happening and they not even here. Last week on the show, John and K Dub Wonderful three had a great time. Corrected me a couple of times because I kept saying that it was Islamic terrorists. And I'm glad that y'all corrected me on that. I appreciate that y'all corrected me on that because it wasn't a matter of a religious war. And y'all corrected me on that piece as well. It's more about the land. It's more about the fact that in 1947, if you looked at a map, that whole map said Palestine. And anytime after that, that map said Israel, up into the present, where the peace, where the Palestinian people inhabited, continue to get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And so while we appreciate and we respect our Jewish brothers and sisters, I will not be the person that will completely forget about the Palestinian people and forget about the fact that they was there. They deserve to be somewhere up to and including the land that they was on before 1948. And at the very least you can do is be humanitarian around how they're being treated. And this is the first time in my lifetime that I can remember that as I watch the media tell these stories, that there's any kind of sympathy towards the Palestinian people. Because now we want to talk about the humanitarian effort and how you want 2 million people to walk from Gaza all the way down south to the Egyptian border. And the Egyptians like, man, fuck that shit. Y'all can't come here. Hell no. Y'all can't come here. Because part of me understands that too. Because we know what's going on in South America. And when these people come up through Mexico to the American border, what we saying? Fuck that. Y'all better find somewhere else to go. It's the same thing. What's the difference? Somebody tell me the difference. So how we looking at Egypt like, y'all should open up the doors and let them people in. America not doing that because the people that's coming here, the refugees that they want to call them and the migrants and all of the terminology that I might be, the illegals, all that stuff, it's the same shit. They coming from wherever they running from South America up through Mexico and they trying to come here so that they could not die. And Egypt is saying, nah, I understand what's going on. The world understands what's going on. But however, comma, nah, son, you can't come here.
Here's the problem, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Here's the problem.
Yes.
Here's the problem.
Absolutely.
And nobody wants to look at the big picture. Here goes the big picture. You mentioned Palestine. You mentioned Egypt. You mentioned Israel. You mentioned, know what you mentioned? A whole bunch of colonized places. A whole bunch of places where white Europeans went over there and decided how it was going to be. Right?
No
the
dispute.
Original,
No
the
dispute.
original people, the
No
original
dispute.
people of the land have zero rights. This is apartheid all over again. This is every other thing you want to mention. Like people get mad at the South Africans kicking out the white farmers. Oh, we've been here for generations now. Well, whatever, bro. Right? They didn't do that thanks to in some part of Nelson Mandela and all that other Stevie Wonder and what's the word, Johannesburg and all that. It took whatever how many years for it to be recognized. It still ain't fair, right? But Palestine is not even close to what needs to go on in Egypt and no place. So look, in the population of the world, those people who identify as white, and let's thank the first governor of Virginia. I forget his name, Berkeley, for establishing white people. Y'all need to thank him, white people. First governor of Virginia, Berkeley. He established white people right here in Virginia and in Richmond. And since then, white people who are about 6% of the planet control it all through colonization, mental manipulation, white supremacy, and racism. Right? And it's funny because when white people look at non-white people, they see violence, deceit, all these negative things, right? And now non-white people who would look at each other have the same vision that white people have. You know why? because we get our sources from the same media. But guess what happens when non-white people look at white people? You know what they see? They see God. Because
Yeah.
that's built. That's what the media has told us for the last 200 years. And people recognize that it's not a problem. That's the problem, y'all.
Yeah. Well, we see Shaggy from Scooby Doo as the image of God or Jesus, and yeah, I'm with you on that. Absolutely. Ain't no how step Marcus J live from NewDen Legacy and that radio. I hate to have the hard stop and hard shift there, but last thing that we want to spend some time on, and we absolutely want to spend some time, it is the top of the third hour. So I don't know how much time we're going to spend here, but we're going to spend the balance of the show before the rants and the closings right here. We're going to talk about Jada Pinkett Smith, and we're going to talk about Will Smith. Jada has her book coming out. Worthy is set to be released on tomorrow, on October 17th. It's a tell-all book, and she's had a lot to say. Now, here's what I will say, Steph. I want you to follow me on this one. I have not been one who has followed a lot of the drama coming out of the Will and Jada camp. She has gone on the publicity tour recently to talk about this book. I've already downloaded the book in Audible. I'm going to listen to it. I listen to a lot of books in Audible. Barack Obama, I've listened to. I've listened to Prince Harry. I've listened to Stephen A. Smith, Ice-T, Jamel Hill. I like Audible. I like to listen to George W. Bush. You know, I find individuals, I want to listen to their stuff. So this is the vein in which I will be listening to Worthy, Jada's book. Also keeping in mind that I have absolutely been in love with this woman since I was a teenager. I've also looked at her husband, Will, as one of the greatest people I've ever experienced since I was a teenager. Translation, I've loved both of them since I was a teenager. I had an opportunity to shake hands and look into the eyes of Will Smith. I met him. I was 14 years old. I thought he was great. He was nice to me when I watched him 5 minutes before he shook my hand. He was fussy and he was pissed off, but I was a fan. So was my sister. And that joint went away real quick because he had a fan. So that will always be the baseline for my experience with Will Smith. Lena James on A Different World. You could argue that that whole show is a big part of the reason why I ended up in Richmond, Virginia at historically black college and university. And she was one of those people. So that's the backdrop. That's the reason when you hear me speak of them, I will be leading towards grace. You have a lot of the memes that want to talk about how Will is a simp and how Jada is emasculating him and she's a liar and she's a terrible person. And, you know, folks don't want to talk about how Will wrote a book just a few years ago where he revealed a whole lot of his shit, including the girlfriends that he had. But somehow we mad at Jada when it's her turn. So I wanted to put that on the table because I want y'all to know how I feel about it. I say mind your fucking business. Because not one of y'all who's listening to the interviews that she's doing, which are absolutely self-serving and book selling, that you want to judge her. Like, you ain't got a boyfriend, sis. You know what I mean? Like, you ain't got a boyfriend. You ain't got a boyfriend. You ain't got the dude that you got on the side that, you know, he gonna take you out to eat. You don't like him, but he gonna take you out to eat, so you tolerate him. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Sis, you ain't got the brother that you're sleeping with, but you don't like him, but he can put it down. You know what I'm saying? Bruh, you ain't got a few sides. You ain't got a few sides. You ain't trying to, you know, embarrass yourself by putting yourself out there, but you ain't got a couple of girlfriends. You're not going through the good morning beautifuls, and you got 3 or 4 of them. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying all of this to say that the things that
Marcus, shut up, man.
no, fuck all that. Shut up. Like, seriously,
No,
I'm telling all the secrets. You know why? I'm gonna tell you why. Because I'm tired of us, yo. I'm tired of us, and I'm gonna put how I feel about this. I'm gonna put how I feel about this out before y'all
This
speak.
dude,
So I
man.
ain't gotta say nothing. Y'all say what y'all want to say.
This dude,
I'm
man.
I'm telling it. Because the truth is, we all middle-aged people here. We
I
all
don't like that
middle-aged.
term.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get used to
I
it. When Florence got called middle-aged, she was 39. We are over than that. You know what I'm saying? Like
Well,
it's
that's
what it.
because back then everybody was
Yeah, they was dying
been
at
out by
70.
60s.
But here's the
Well,
thing, right?
39, that'd be 78. A lot of people die at 78. So yeah, that is middle age. We way past that. But
Yeah,
anyway.
I've been middle-aged since, you figure middle age starts
Marcus
after
likes
30.
being old.
I love getting older. So, but
Yeah,
let
but
me
you
finish
keep
this.
talking about how the brothers communicate, man. All this
Good morning, beautiful.
Yeah, don't do that, man. They don't know
You
that.
copy and
Jada.
paste. You think they don't know? You think they don't know?
It's why we
you
hate it so
you
much.
copy and paste it, and then you change the last piece so that you could put her name in it, or whatever relationship you got with her. You're gonna personalize the good morning, beautiful. But the
Listen,
whole
when I
text
text
message.
good morning,
Hold on,
beautiful, I
bro.
type every
Come on,
single
man.
letter.
Hold on,
And
man.
that's because I think that you're
You gonna just cut me
beautiful.
off while I'm talking?
Yeah, because you're going
I'm
to
telling all the
cause
secrets.
me to get texts that I don't need to be getting
If you was
about whatever. Yeah.
if you was a real player, then your good morning, beautiful text will go over tomorrow the way they went over today.
Nah,
Hey.
I'm listening. Ain't about going over. I'm gonna be switching my personal to
Any,
my
any,
personal emoji. Good morning, beautiful.
anyway, let me
Just to
stay.
get away from Marcus
I'm
and
not.
his nonsense.
I'm not finished on the soapbox. Let me finish on the soapbox because this really the most of what I'm gonna say on this topic. Steph, I want you to follow me, and John, you can take it home. But we know. The brothers know, the sisters know. Brothers who ain't pumping gas for their chick got mad at Will for slapping the shit out of a dude who disrespected her. You can't even pump gas for her, but you mad at Will. You calling him a simp because she got a boyfriend. The same chick that you might have and know that she got a boyfriend, but you're not saying nothing because you got 3 girlfriends and you don't want to smoke. Like, come on, man. We know what they doing because a lot of us is doing the same shit. All of a sudden, we got so much judgment for them. We want to tell the world that Jada is the worst woman in the world. She's a demon person. She's embarrassing him. Really? And he's sitting there listening to it and not saying that. He's that much of a little man that he ain't got nothing to say while his woman is doing all of this. The same dude that wrote a book about his girlfriends 5 years ago. Like, come on. What we talking about here? Will and Jade is a story, and I get it. We all love a story. We all love a story. We all want to be a part of one. We just don't want our name in it. Their names is in it. So now we get to talk. We get to talk now. But if our name is in it, we want to deny shit. We want to deny the same shit that they doing. Stop being judgmental. Show some grace to people doing the same shit you doing.
Okay.
What you got to say on this, Steph?
I think you said a lot.
Yeah, I did. I had to get that out of my system because I'm about tired of seeing all of these fake ass people on Instagram and Facebook with so much judgment, especially the brothers. Will is a simp. Okay. He loves his woman. He takes care of his woman. First of all, the whole simp thing is whack because basically it's a simp that loves his woman, takes care of his woman. He do X shit for his woman. Never mind what she might be doing for him in reciprocal. But if he's publicly showing love for his woman, he's a simp. Y'all whack as fuck for that. Sisters, y'all throwing shade at her. Y'all throwing shade at him. He's not a man. He showed you how much of a man he was because he ruined his career by slapping the shit out of a dude in front of the world for saying stuff about her in front of the world. But somehow he's been emasculated. Y'all confused, Steph. I'm so mad at them for this.
I see. Well, listen, it is.
I already
it
do,
is
but it's cool.
hugely judgmental. It's absolutely judgmental. I also think that there are a lot of comments I can see from people who have never been married, and their perception of marriage is irrelevant because how they view it is very one-dimensional. Marriage needs to look this way. Marriage looks that way. There are people who get married with the intention that they're not going to live in the same. I know people who've never slept in the same bedroom. There may be some people who live separately for the most part. There were commuter marriages long before y'all even started thinking about it. People working all the way up in New York City, wife all the way down to South Jersey, things like that. I think the problem with this is mostly that Jada appears autonomous. She's a Black woman who, in their opinion, is exercising individuality. And that is not something that Black women have been entitled to from the perspective of many people. She literally said, I made a vow, I made a promise that I would not end my marriage, that we would find a way through. And I didn't want to break that promise to myself. In spite of the fact that this man admitted in his own book, which I read, that he's a narcissist. His therapist says he's a narcissist. His first wife had to serve him papers on Valentine's Day to get his attention. He rushed Jada into marriage with the help of her mother when she didn't want it because it was better for his image, so on and so forth. He even came out this week and said, basically, you're with your partner so long that you become emotionally blind to the beauty and nuance of that individual, which is him saying, I stopped seeing her for who she was. We both decided that we need time apart. We both needed that. We knew that we needed to figure this out, but we didn't want to be without one another. And they made the decision that they could live with. But because it doesn't look the way you think it should look, it bothers you. And because of how it initially came about, because mind you, there was conversation about Will with Margot Robbie way before the August Alsina thing. And no one was going crazy about that. But when it came out that she was spending time with August Alsina, and they honestly, if they wanted to, they could have told the truth then, it would have saved her a lot of headache, because a lot of people immediately blamed her for everything, assuming that was the indiscretion. It wasn't. These people had decided to live separate lives respectfully. It just so happened that August Alsina didn't want that to be kept secret, and he put it out there. If he hadn't, you wouldn't have known about it. Today on the Today Show, she said that 7 years worked well for us. She said she wanted to come back and set the record straight because they're in a better place now. They're now able to work. They were able to work through it and come back together. And they're working on their life partnership. If that's the way they want to do it, I don't care what a 56-year-old bachelor, never been married, like Stephen A. Smith, who had all these negative things to say about Jada. I don't care. We need to figure out why you still a bachelor, sir. You have your own thing. You need to go to therapy and get your own shit fixed. Stop talking about these women. Because I'm still looking at you like, if you're Mr. Successful and you're high value, why didn't anybody snatch you up? You're problematic too. You do not understand what these people in their 20s, and I'm saying this as someone who was married at an extremely young age. I wasn't even 20. 18 to be exact. You get together with somebody, you go through your 20s. It is extremely natural that if you get together at such a young age, and mind you, two people from two environments that had experienced some toxic elements, whether it is what Will went through with his own family, or what Jada went through with hers. They get together, they're young, they start a family, so on and so forth. You go through your 20s, it looks one way. You go through your 30s, it looks another. You go through your 40s, it looks another, and so on. You know, I remember Denzel Washington saying, they asked him what it was that made him have such a long marriage. It wasn't that he makes his wife happy all the time. It wasn't that he was always present. It wasn't that he was the best parent of the two of them. It was none of those things. It was, he said, I found a way to love my wife differently as she grew, as she changed, as we got older. I had no expectation that I was going to love and feel the way I did about her when I was being led around by certain things in my 20s. That's not how I view her now. Her value is different to me. And so therefore, how I love and see her is different, which means I'm committed to our marriage at the same level, but for different reasons. And I think that's what these two people said. We're still committed to the marriage, but this is the way we worked through it. May not work for you, may not work for you, worked for us. And you know, coming after Jada, par for the course. Par for the course, because God forbid two people make a decision and a woman exercises her rights within that decision as well. People are not prepared for that. They never will be. I don't care what they say. They will never like the idea of a free ass Black woman, ever, and particularly Black men. It's startling. It's shocking because we're not in the same muling service position that we have been positioned in for so long. And that's what bothers you about Jada. And for the women that are saying those things, what bothers you about Jada is you put up with the bullshit and didn't exercise your autonomy. So you're looking at her and you're angry that she's able to move in a way that you choose not to. It's not that you can't, you choose not to. And most of you are putting up with worse from a shittier man who does less for you, has loved you less in your lifetime, and you're willing to put up with it and stick by him. I'ma stand beside him, my man, my man, my man. And he been in a club with everybody. So get off Jada's dick. Period. Get off it. Be happy that she's demonstrating to you that she knew a way that she could figure out something that you still can't figure out. Not only did she figure out that she wanted to be married and she wanted to be a wife, some of you talking shit about her and ain't never been a wife in your life. It's like listening to a man talking about how to be a perfect wife and his mother wasn't one. Save your opinions for somebody who actually needs them. And it ain't Jada, honestly. She needs you to buy that book. I bought it. I'm with Marcus J. We'll be talking about it. I'll be texting you.
I bought it.
I
I
bought the hard copy of an annotated.
I'm an audio.
Cara and I talked about it the other day.
I'm an audio book person, and her marriage to Will and how it's playing out ain't going to stop me from being a fan of somebody I've been a fan of for over 30 years.
Him saying that he had his infidelities and that he has not been the best husband over the years, and he said it in his memoir, didn't make me not go see the movies that he made after it. And I'm gonna say this. If
that's man, but that is man tax.
That's man tax.
That's right. The man tax.
The tax is the woman's gonna own the wrong.
The man tax here is the fact that Will gets called a simp and a punk and all of the things, while minimizing the fact that his wife, his woman, has the opportunity to move in her way in response to his way. Because here's the thing. We don't consider the fact that maybe she doing what she doing out of response for how he was moving.
No, she said that this was their agreement if within their 7 years.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I haven't listened to a lot of stuff because I had planned to read the book, so I didn't. I didn't watch I
paid attention to
I didn't watch the Today Show interview. I've made a point to kind of avoid the media blitz. I was late to the Alcina stuff. I still to this moment don't know the details of that. I did his book. I know what Will thinks. I'm about to do hers. I'm not going to play into what we want to interpret off of sound bites. That's just me. So anyway, ain't no how Steph Marcus J live from NewDen Legacy and that radio. John, what you got on the topic, man? You said we was going to hate you. You said we was going to hate you.
Grain of salt with me.
Yeah, let's bring
it. Before the show started, right? I looked at you and I said, Marcus. I said, please tell me I'm going to talk about Jada.
Yeah,
right.
And I said,
please tell me.
And I said, yeah, let's get it.
Okay, so here's the deal. One, I so don't care, right? And it's not a slight to her or him because, listen, they're human beings, right? And whatever their flaws or triumphs are within their life, those are theirs.
I think we all would prefer to not be talking about this, but this is what we got.
It's part of pop culture.
Yeah,
right. Okay, but I so don't care. But again, they with each other, right? They made them choices. Either one of them can make a choice not to be, right? So whatever. Whatever people want to call inconsistencies in her delivery of her statements or anything like that, so what? She trying to sell a book. Let her sell a book. Get her paper. As far as him with other women, like what? You didn't know? I knew. And I don't follow it. So if you a fan that follow it and you ain't know that he was sleeping around, yeah, of course he was. The only issue that may have been with Alcina was the age difference, maybe, and people thought there was a double standard. But whatever. You know what I'm saying? And as far as Will being a simp, he is what he is. If he is, if he ain't, I mean, that's not for you to say. If you check this out, right? If you pay your own phone bill that you follow them on, shut the fuck up and mind your business. Because these people don't pay they got people that pay they bill. They got people that pay their bills for them. And you's a dumbass for following behind it, trying to comment on your phone that if you don't pay by Tuesday, gonna get cut off. Sorry, this call is not receiving calls at this time. Yo, dumbass. So I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. I really don't. I mean, I like Jada and Low Down Dirty Shane. She was looking good, right? You can say the rest of the shit she did after that. I don't really care. She's looking good in Low Down Dirty Shane.
That was too easy.
Will, listen. Will is a
okay.
Will is a hip hop pioneer. I respected his work with Jazzy Jeff Forever, Fresh Prince fan. He's a black superstar, leading man, award winning actor. Should never lose the establishment of his accomplishments based on a personal opinion of his life outside of that. Right? We don't talk about Will because of what goes on in Will's house. We talk about Will for what goes on the movie screen and on the TV screen and in the record downloads and so on and so forth. Right? So separate them. As an actor, as an artist or whatever, 100%, 100% respect for Will Smith. His personal choices, I don't give a damn because I don't know him like that. I don't know him like that, and he do what he do. Love who you love, whatever. I heard they had an open relationship, and him and her was having sex without seeing it and all that. Who gives a damn? Y'all people are pathetic. Do you know how pathetic y'all are? That y'all are fans of this gossip bullshit? That you spend hours in? How sad are you? How sad and pathetic are you that you have hours of your day to give to this bullshit? Like, I wish I could say what I really want to say in my heart, but I ain't because it's irresponsible. But you're a worthless piece of shit.
Damn, John.
Come on, John.
Damn, dude.
That's it. If you online with this,
mean,
if you're online with this gossiping about these people and your broke ass is in the projects, you's a pathetic piece of shit.
Hold
and
on.
Fuck you and the rest of
Is
y'all.
that not
Really?
just like
Really?
the
That's what we're gonna do?
most like
That's what we're gonna do. We doing
really get into
I had an
poverty?
issue. I had an issue when
With
you said
we
about
going to poverty?
did poor people deserve rest? Yeah, they do deserve rest. But at the same time, if you're gonna squander your time, resource, and efforts on shit that don't affect you in any kind of way that you can't get anything from, you listen. What did
don't
you
get
ate?
to
Listen,
determine
you ate a
that.
honey. You ate a honey bun today, and that was your only meal. But you got 3 hours to give to Will and Jada online. You're a pathetic piece
It's
of shit.
amazing to me.
That's my
how
opinion.
And this is the same. When one day we'll talk about how Black capitalism can also lead to a certain level of elitism that is exclusionary of people. It is no different than ageism. You look at people and you poverty shaming and things like that. Everyone who is poor is not sitting around lazy, John. Cut it.
I didn't say they was, but everybody,
that's the
everybody who's
terminology.
poor. This is what I'm saying, and let's be clear again. My words, what I said versus what you heard. This is what I said. If you had a honey bun and that was your only meal of the day, yet you have 3 hours of your time to dedicate to Will and Jada gossip, you're a
Who said they're
pathetic
dedicating 3
piece
hours
of
their
shit.
time?
Okay. Again, if
And black people
you,
don't own
whoever
black-
you,
and
okay,
poor black people
again,
shouldn't have on
let's
Jordans,
spin
and
this
they
back. Let's
shouldn't
spin
do
this back
this, and
again.
they shouldn't do
We're not talking,
that.
but let's talk
Blah,
about
blah,
what I
blah, blah,
again.
blah,
My
blah,
words,
blah,
not what you
You
heard.
getting more heated for somebody who really don't care
Because
about
you,
it.
because what you're doing, you're
I
doing
mean,
subtext and subtle.
I'm
You're
not,
interpreting.
I'm directly,
You're
directly
interpreting.
addressing what
You're
you're
no,
saying.
no, you're not. You're addressing what you're hearing.
Okay, John.
That's the man text. Let's
Okay.
try it again.
That's the,
If
don't start that
you,
bullshit with me.
if
Get
you,
outta here.
listen to me clear. If you ate a honey bun today, and
you
that
talking
is
about?
your only
You bought into that
meal.
man tax early. And
If you,
sticking
listen,
your pecker in
this
his
is my
tail.
words. This is not what anybody else. These are my words. Please only listen to my words when I'm speaking them. If you had a honey bun today, and that was your only meal for the day, and you spent anything over 5 minutes studying Will and Jada on your phone that you get for free because you get Medicaid and SNAP, you're a pathetic piece of shit.
Wow.
Because there's much better things for you to do with your time. And if
Okay.
you don't
And
know
should
what
not
they
have 5
are,
minutes of leisure, no.
and if you hell no.
Not 5
If
minutes.
you eat a honey
'Cause
bun,
poverty means
if you
should not
eat
have
a
leisure.
honey bun for the only meal of the day, right? And you do have leisure, your leisure needs to be full with educating yourself and trying to better yourself or spending quality time with your
Didn't even need to
family.
go here.
If you're going on your phone and following Will and Jada gossip, you're a pathetic piece of shit. That's my opinion. Anybody got a problem with it? I can understand it. You have a right to your opinion. I'm giving mine.
All right, I can dig it. Ain't no ask that Marcus J live from NewDen Legacy and Radio. That one's way too easy for me to kind of attack you on. I'm not gonna do it. But here's what I will say. Here's what I will say in lieu of attacking just the craziness and the blasphemous nonsense that you just said. Calling people out their name just because they want a little bit of joy on their social media.
I gave
Just
specifics,
because,
right?
Oh, yeah, you did. If all you ate, no, I heard you. I heard you. I heard you. I heard you.
You're gonna translate. You're gonna
I'm
translate.
translating. Yes, into
Why
my
are you
language.
bothered by
Of course.
that?
But
Yes.
see again,
Absolutely.
speak.
So
speak.
I
If you're
won't
gonna speak
translate
my
it since you're
words,
gonna
speak my
translate it for
words.
me. Go ahead.
If you're gonna speak my words, if you're gonna speak my words, speak my words.
Yes.
But if you're going to interpret my
No.
words into how you feel
Don't
about
do
what I
that.
said,
No.
that's
Gaslighting,
different.
John.
No,
That's
that,
what y'all doing.
no, not at all.
My
Because
words
you
are my
said
words.
you said anybody, and please correct me if I'm wrong.
Right.
Hold on. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Right.
You said,
Right.
which he does.
All the time.
If you only had a honey bun today
For your meal of
for
the
your
day,
meal of the day,
right, on your
if
phone,
you spend any time on your phone
more than
more
5
than
minutes,
5 minutes
right.
talking about them, you're a pathetic piece of shit. That's what you
Yes.
said.
Yes.
You would hate me on a Monday because sometimes I get in here and I
So
haven't had a meal.
so basically a homeless
I'm
person
ready.
who happens to have a cell phone because they decided, because I'm gonna go down this rabbit hole with you. Because
Why?
as we say, I got time. Not a lot,
Okay.
but this is where we
Because
go.
I'm gonna love it. Because when we go down there, I'm gonna
this-
show you
this-
some
this-
shit
this
you
where
ain't
we went
seen.
in.
I don't have time.
She doesn't have time. So I'm gonna just ask you this, right?
All right.
Just because all I had to eat, I'm a homeless person, was a honey bun.
And
If
he
I
didn't say homeless,
said,
he said poor.
you said poor, homeless,
No,
poor,
that's different. Poor.
Poor.
Because there are a lot of poor people. So
poor
please
people,
stick with it.
people. So I might actually have a home, but I didn't have enough
Yes,
money to
poor.
eat anything other than a honey bun.
Mhm.
The honey bun,
Yes.
right? So if I only had
Bag
a
of hot
honey bun,
Cheetos.
only had a honey bun,
Right.
and I spent more than 5 minutes talking about them pathetic piece of shit,
Yeah. Want to break it down for
It ain't
you?
no better than
I would
that.
I
love.
could break it down real easy for you.
Why am I pathetic? Because I happen to pull out my phone
I'm
and go,
disgusted.
oh, this is on my phone. Wow, I'm still hungry because all I had was a honey bun, but this is on my phone. Wow. Oh, okay.
5 minutes,
Damn.
here, 5
This
minutes.
is crazy. Wow. This is, oh my God. I'm a pathetic piece of shit.
Got about 5 minutes on that. Because guess what? If you,
said
have enough,
5 minutes.
if you have enough, I said
And you
that's
said
right.
if you
wait a
spent
minute, Paul.
5 minutes. That's what you said.
Let's try it again. You
That's
got
what
you
you
got about
said,
5.
though.
You got about 5 minutes on that,
So I
right?
spent 6.
Okay, whatever.
You said
6, 7.
If you spent
I got
5
about
minutes,
5. You got about 5 minutes on it, right?
You already
But you
said
have
spent
7
5
minutes in. I'm a pathetic piece of shit.
You got about 5 minutes on it, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now we can stick to the hard line, but I said about 5 minutes. Okay, 5 minutes.
It's
You
been
want to stick
7.
to? Okay, it's been 7. Okay, fine.
I'm a pathetic
I might
piece of shit.
listen.
in your mind.
Could give you the 7 if it's a second over 7. No, I ain't doing that. So say 8. Say 8. Say 8.
Are they
Yeah,
innocent
it's been
children?
8 minutes. Yeah, you know why? Because if you have enough mental aptitude to read and concept and respond to that gossip shit, you got enough brain power to do something better for
That
yourself,
5 minutes good,
and
bro.
you have time. And you have time of the day to better your situation. And if you choose not to better your situation,
That's
but
not-
bury
that's not
your
the person
fucking time
choosing
in that bullshit, you're a
That
pathetic
is the
piece of
most
shit.
black and white bullshit I've ever heard. That is extreme. That is the most reductionist way to see things possible. Like I could sit in a room full of people who philosophize about a million things, and they would see how reductionist that is.
It's the
Hold
internet
on.
on here.
Hold on.
It's the internet on here.
Hold on.
It's the fucking internet.
Hold on.
And
You know
you
what?
eating
I'ma let
honey
you learn
buns
your
and
reduction
you got
thing.
time for that shit? Come on, man. Come on. How
Right,
much
this
shit
is
could you learn and study and read?
I
And
think
how
this
much
is
better
stupid.
could you make
All
your
right.
life
I
with
think
that
this is
time that you're going to
absolutely
spend on
dumb.
Jada and Will, who's rich as fuck?
This is
You
stupid.
pathetic.
What are we doing?
So obviously,
I'm not even gonna say anything.
yeah,
anymore.
I'm gonna
This is
shift this to a close, and I will take the last
Ugh.
word. And obviously, Will and Jada will stand in proxy for any kind of pop culture thing that you happen to find on your phone. That is who we're talking about, so they will get the ire. But I'm not someone that's going to be that aggressive towards
Reductionist.
someone who happened to be poor and want to spend some time in pop culture entertaining themselves. And so while I understand what you're saying, I'm not entirely sure if your tongue is in your cheek when you say it. Perhaps it's not. Perhaps this is a shoot, to use a wrestling term. Like, you dead serious. If you are, fine, fair enough. I can dig it. I don't agree. Ain't no how Steph Marcus J live from NewDen Legacy and Radio. This is where we move and shift to our final vestiges of the show. And I love this part. And I really wish that we didn't have the issues that we had earlier, because we would have spent more time fussing with each other. And this is great. Like, this is great. This is great, right?
I'm
This
ready
is
to go
great.
home.
This is great.
And
I don't hate
listen,
you.
I
I
don't
mean,
hate
you
I
you
just
always
think it's
crazy as hell.
contrary.
This ain't new. Yeah. Well, yeah, you are absolutely a contrarian. No
Yeah.
question. No
So
question.
it happens
You
to people
are
when they get old. too.
you are a contrarian. But it's okay, because there are those who will probably call me one on certain topics and depending on certain circles that I'm in. So I get it. I got no smoke with you. You think that it's nonsense we shouldn't be talking about. I can dig it, because part of
We shouldn't be talking about it. Look, it's not okay. Pop culture has its point, right? And it's a thing. And I understand people who engage and so on and so forth, but I also understand that the majority of people who engage in this, who offer opinions, so on and so forth, whatever, they're really not in the best position to do so, because they could be using their same time and resources on the same devices to better their situation. Now, I said it in a very dark, cold, and harsh way, because sometimes you need to bust a motherfucker over the head for them to get some sense. Now
receive,
we can talk
receive,
nice,
receive,
we can talk
receives,
nice and soft about it and get all
receives,
elegant, but nah, that ain't what it's about right now. What
receives.
it's about right now is people are drowning themselves in their goddamn phones and not using it for anything. And as much as you try to tell people and educate people to get their lives together, they're not getting it together. 24%, 16% of the people in the black came out to vote for the guy smoking the blunt.
Yeah,
Them the same people who didn't come out are the same people who living in one of the poorest counties
But you
in
said
the
that was about
goddamn
him and his
in the
messaging, and
goddamn
now we're using
country.
it in its- okay.
They are same people in the county, one of the poorest counties in the goddamn country, sit up on their phone for hours, talk about Will and Jada, and not figuring out what this man's agenda was and how they might elect him and do something better for
I
themselves.
see where you're going. I understand where you're going. Your point is very well taken when it comes to that piece. When you have this access to the world in your hands, and often we spend our time mired in nonsense. And I am one who would prefer that we didn't spend a lot of time in that vein with regards to pop culture, with regards to gossip and all that kind of stuff. I understand what you're trying to say. But if we're to specifically take what you're saying point by point in the semantics of it, it comes off a little strong. But I understand that you intended it to. So I see you. I respect that. Ain't no ass stepping with Marcus J live from NewDen Legacy and Radio. All right, so let's get some missing children and let us
cannot
do
believe
our
that.
moment in Black history.
I just can't believe what I just heard. Please,
What can you not
let's rush
understand?
to a close.
Okay, there you go. All right, so we got two missing children that we're looking for, both of them in Chesterfield. First, we're looking for Cameron Darion Rawlings. Been missing. It's a young brother since October 11th. 14 years old. Has the top of his head dyed red and is wearing a necklace with a letter K emblem. He's got a birthmark on his upper back. If you've seen Cameron Darion Rawlings, please contact Chesterfield County Police Department at 804-748-1251. Also in Chesterfield County, we're looking for Zayel Kayana Swan. October 12th, also the last few days, she's 15. Zayel was last seen wearing a green hoodie, blue jeans, and white sneakers. If you've seen Zayel Kayana Swan, please contact the Chesterfield County Police Department at 804-748-1251. So we're looking for two of them in Chesterfield County. Kyle, Darion Rollins, and we're also looking for Zayel Kayana Swan. If you've seen either of them, please contact the Chesterfield County Police Department at 804-748-1251 or contact the Missing Kids Hotline at 1-800-LOST, 1-800-843-5678. And also, you can find their photos on our websites, on our pages. So if you go to our pages, you can see them. Or if you go to missingkids.org, you can see them as well. You know how Steppin, Marcus J, live from NewDen Legacy and Radio. All right, so I got this new book, right? Well, it's not new. I've had it like for years, right? And I just started using it for the moment in Black history. So hopefully y'all can see that, right? It says great African Americans, a phrase that I almost never use. I much prefer to say Black folk, Black people, us. And what I will often do is, because see, we got these cards. It's a bunch of cards, right? Cards. It's a bunch, right? You can see them. And I'll get John or I'll get Steph to pick a card. Pick a card, any card. And today, this was the card that was chosen. So I'm going to read the moment or the person in Black history. This person was the best known conductor, a network of abolitionists who spirited blacks to freedom. A few made 19 return trips to rescue as many as 300 slaves in bondage. Their courage and shrewdness were widely known and all the more remarkable given the blackouts they suffered throughout their life as a result of being struck on the head with a 2-pound weight by an overseer during the Civil War. This person served as a nurse, spy, and scout for groups of raiders penetrating Confederate lines. In the later years, they worked for the Black education and social betterment, women's suffrage, and other causes. Obviously, if you are listening to any of the words we're saying, you know we're talking about Harriet Tubman. I'm always happy and excited to read that card. Ain't no hashtag Marcus J live from NewDen Legacy and Radio. All right, so let's get to the end. Let's get to our rants. Let's get to our closings. John, pick up your mic and take the con. This is where you read your affirmation. You tell us whatever card that you chose for yourself, and then you will rant and you will close. What you got, bro?
Today I am excited. Today is going to be the best day ever.
You excited and the best day ever. Okay. Well, it's, half past third hour. So the day is a little bit gone, but hopefully this will extend 24 hours and you get some of tomorrow in that.
All right.
You dig it?
Yeah. I'm gonna use this time. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna close and I'm gonna try to do a couple of things.
What you gonna do, bro?
For the hard of hearing, I'm gonna make it as plain as I can make it. Right. This is the age of Aquarius. We live in the information age. We have access to more information at our fingertips than ever in known history that we have, or recorded history, I should say, of this time. I understand what circumstances are. I understand what racism is. I understand what white supremacy is. I understand what oppression and marginalization is. I know people who make mistakes, and I know it's hard to come back from mistakes and all of these different things. But I also know a lot of people who've made lots of mistakes and fought their way through and come back and done good things. I know everybody ain't the same, but I do know this. Time management is the key to success. I'm going to say it again. Time management is the key to success. Right? If you, because the time that you have is all that you got. You don't have anything else. Everything else is an illusion. You don't have no stuff. You don't have no money. You have your time. You have your life. Right? That's all you have. And the time you have is all you got. So if you mismanage your time, you're mismanaging your life. Right? And what I'm trying to get across to people is to have a better understanding. Right now, in I'm going to assume any major city that offers EBT, or what's that, EBT, right? That's what it's called, the food assistance, right? That offers EBT or Medicaid. They have programs where you can get free telephones and tablets. You can get free telephones and tablets. They will give you a free tablet. You will have 2 years of internet connection service for free, phones and tablets. If you're suffering in an impoverished situation, with that device, you will have access to information that can help your situation. Now, if you are illiterate, you might need some help, and hopefully, there's some place in your town that can help you learn to read and comprehend and do better. But if you can read, if you can comprehend the things that you read, there's like Google School, right? I don't know the exact name of it, but you can go. There's like all kind of lessons and things you can learn on Google to better yourself. They got things where you can do resumes and teach you how to fill out applications. I mean, McDonald's is paying $16 an hour right now, right? And they need people all over because people don't want to. Most people who are able to work don't want to work those kind of jobs for whatever reason it is. But maybe it's not a living wage or a fair wage, and all these other issues to the of the day might be that. But if you got access to the internet and a device, you can put yourself in a better situation. I spend a lot of time on my devices during the day. I play games. I play Royal Flush or whatever it's called. I play spades. I play some poker online. I play solitaire. I shoot pool online, 8-ball pool. I do that, right? I do that because I can do that. If I was in a position where I couldn't do that, if I was in a position where I was what they call food insecure, if I was in that position, I would not spend any of my time playing games on my phone. I wouldn't find that as a relief or a release or any kind of leisure, because looming over my head is my food insecurity, right? So my focus and my attention would be to better my situation in any way that I can. And again, I understand that we all do not have the same type of access to the resources that's available in abundance to others, but there is access. There are things to do to make yourself better. Every day when you wake up, you're already a winner. You're already a winner. Now it's up to you to do something with that win. The next day when you wake up, you should be better than the day than you were you should be a better person than the one you was the day before. Somehow you have educated yourself. Somehow you know something you didn't know. Somehow you're in a better position. Somehow you're closer to a goal. Somehow you got $1 more than what you had, or 50 cents more than what you had. And if you don't, I'm sorry, you cannot afford to spend time on pop culture. It is a luxury. That is a luxury. It is not a given, right? Okay, everybody, is supposed, in the country, the richest country in the world, is supposed to have access to free healthcare, education, and food, and a place to stay. We shouldn't have homelessness and so on and so. Yeah, all of that's true. All of that's true in context, right? But if you have access to resources and information, and you just want to sit around and not take advantage of it, or you don't want to use it to the best of your ability, if you don't want to take the time that you have to concentrate on making yourself better, right? Then why would you have the expectation of anyone else to give a damn about you? Why do you expect for somebody to give you something when you're not even willing to take what you've been given and do something with that? Why would somebody give you something else to squander? Right? Now, I understand about pop culture. I understand it has its place. I understand entertainment. I understand back and forth on the social media. Somebody says something, you say something, y'all go back and forth. Blah, 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 blah. It could be fun, it could be entertaining, it's sassy or whatever. And then I understand how some people get mad because they identify with these people because these people have been part of their life for years. It's almost like family. So, oh no, I don't believe you said that about so and so. Forget you and that. All that's nice, but all that's nice when your ribs ain't touching, right? All that's nice when you're not sleeping outside. All that's nice when you know what you're gonna eat tomorrow, right? All of that's nice then. It's not nice when none of those things are true. Secure yourself. Secure yourself in your environment. Make yourself better. Make yourself eligible. And what I see for the most part, and I look at this stuff sometimes on social media, and I see the people that's commenting, and sometimes they actually come on there they come on there and present themselves visually, like video chat and all this stuff. And I look at them and I look around in their surroundings, the house or family, I'm like, really, come on, man. You could be doing there are things that you could be doing better with your time than having these debates with these other people about these very, very wealthy people. These people's great grandbabies ain't never gonna have to work a day in their life. And again, you don't know what you eating tomorrow, right? You don't got time to talk about them. Concentrate on you. That's my point, right? And again, I said it harsh because sometimes you gotta hit somebody in the head for them to really understand. Because the nice talk obviously ain't working. Obama was eloquent as hell. People wasn't paying attention, right? There's a lot of people saying a lot of nice stuff to people and wax poetic and encouraging thoughts and all of this stuff and positive reinforcement and all of that. And it don't seem to be working. Don't seem to be working. So maybe if somebody insults you, calls you out your name, yells at you, use some cuss words, maybe it get your attention for a minute, just for a hot second, for you to go, oh, I can go to school online for free? Yeah, you can. You can. You can get a degree online for free. You can learn how to fill out an application. You could apply for jobs all over the area where you at online in your phone. These are all things you could be doing in your spare time. That's the end of my closing.
Ain't no hashtag Marcus J live from NewDen Legacy and Radio. All right, Steph, take us home. Oh, damn.
I'll read my card real quick.
Yeah, read your
It says,
card.
"Today I
I'm
feel good.
sorry. I'm
Today I know
trying
deep
to get us
down
out
that
of
I
here.
could feel good, and I am a good person, and I am a good person."
She's a good person.
You're a great person.
Ain't no hashtag
Oh, you
Marcus
just
J.
cut me, but that's all right. You are. I don't care.
Ain't no
You're a
hashtag
great person.
Marcus
One
J.
of the greatest people I know.
Right.
Live from
Yes.
NewDen Legacy and Radio.
That
All
don't
right.
mean we ain't gonna disagree,
I didn't say
but we agree on the
Look,
fact that you're
look,
great.
Let me clear something up here.
I was gonna just all right, okay. Go ahead.
I don't care if you disagree with me. I do care about my people, and and I stand 10 toes down on it, because the people that usually are disparaged the most are the people who are protected the least, and they look like me. And so there will be people, because we started that conversation about a Black woman, who will follow that bunny trail. And that is the natural depiction of Black women, when we tend to be the people who are financially supporting the community more than anyone else. Today in America. Today in America is a consecutive day since January 1st of the murder of Black women at the hands of their counterparts, people who look like us. And so I think that the messaging needs to be more specific. And I think that when the message is thrown out so harshly, what we forget is part of the man tax is that men, part of the things that escape a man tax is that men are allowed to set a narrative that is often then assigned to women. And so when I feel a way about how a message is delivered, I know because that message was attached to a certain person that it then becomes extended to other people who look like me. And I'm encouraging Black women to take respite. I'm encouraging you to take it so hard that you stop serving Black men. I'm encouraging you. I'm encouraging you to take so much respite that maybe for the moment you stop birthing our ops. I'm encouraging you. I'm encouraging you because there are times when you come home and your fingers are threadbare and you might have had avoided by looking at your pride, you avoided going down to the food pantry and you did what you could to put food on the table for the children that you love, and you deserve respite. And I hate when my messaging is bastardized and dragged into a space in which I never would co-sign on. Now, as someone who is educated on paper and in real life, I absolutely acknowledge and understand the value of using your time wisely. I told you I'm somebody who stays up really late, and often it's because I leave here at radio and I go home and I do other things, or I have a West Coast client that I might have a coaching session with, or whatever that might be. So I recognize the value of using your time appropriately, but I've also seen hands that are threadbare because of consistent work and never a moment's rest. And whatever that respite looks like for you, Black woman, I encourage it, because I've seen you at the same time work yourself to the bone to support people who wouldn't support us when we need it. And so I am a defender of the people that often don't get the rest, of the Black woman that's raising the children primarily, and she comes home because there's no partner, or the partner is not a full participant because she married somebody who weaponizes incompetence. She has to work through those things. And after a long day, and then getting off work, and then doing everything for the children, even in your poverty, you deserve respite. You know, I feel like it's important because, again, you know, linguistics, I feel like it's important for me to tell you what the word respite means so that you, and whatever that y'all want to say for Black men, you say it for them. But I'm saying to you, Black woman, you deserve respite, because respite means a short period of relief or rest from something difficult or unpleasant. And when I talked in episodes earlier about that, respite is a part of self-care. People have been telling us we don't deserve that care for many years. The reason that self-care is trendy or a buzzword currently is because you didn't engage respite for so long. You weren't allowed to. Your grandmother wasn't allowed to, her grandmother wasn't allowed to, and her grandmother before her wasn't allowed to. You deserve respite because it is a brief relief from something difficult or unpleasant. The unpleasantness of the news of war, the unpleasantness of the fact that your community looks more like the women like you and not the men that you need in it, the unpleasantness of having to go to parent-teacher conferences alone, the unpleasantness of having to argue with people who don't want to listen, the unpleasantness of people assuming that they are oppressed when they are not. You deserve respite. And whatever that looks like for you, understand that there is balance within everything. Even when you are impoverished, there is balance within everything. Because I remember one time someone said to me, and it was a woman who's mature of a certain age, and she said, and I don't know who we were talking about, but we were discussing someone having a hard time. And I said, well, she's got $20, she better make it last. And she goes, and if she decides to take that $20 and treat herself to something nice, that's okay too. That's okay too. Because according to the people who don't look like us, from a skin tone perspective, none of us deserve respite. None of us are sitting wealthy enough to be rested. You are the labor. You are the help. Exactly as you sit there with your belief that you're better than everybody. You're the labor. You're the labor. I'm the labor. in spite of what's in my IRA. You're the labor when you're not working, because to them, that's who you are. And to sit here and tell your people you deserve no rest, sure, some things are foolery, fuckery, and malarkey. Absolutely. Respite is relief from the difficult and unpleasant. And for someone who consistently says it's the best country in America, but it ain't shit when it does this, that, and the other, guess what? We see the unpleasant and difficult every single day, brothers. And for those who see it and need a moment away from it, if it's you're back and forth about Jada, whether I agree with you or not, if it's you talking about somebody baby daddy, if it's you talking about somebody maybe mom, if it's these dudes sitting around grabbing their jock, drinking a beer and talking shit, listen. But at the end of the day, 5 minutes ain't killing your life. But I will tell you what, taking a moment away from the difficult will sustain you. That's my rant.
You know, I Steppin Marcus Shay live from NewDen. Legacy in that radio. On that note, I will take us home. I will take us into our final vestiges of tonight's show. I'm excited, y'all. I get to talk about my baby. Today is a big day for her. My intelligent and witty and beautiful and accomplished and wise and amazing third year student at Virginia Commonwealth University started her new job today. Yeah. I always like taking her pictures, you know, before she starts a new endeavor. At 20 years old, there's been a few. Not really sure how many more, but there will be more. This was her first paid job in her field. And she was quick to remind me that not only did she seek, apply for, interview for, and get this gig on her own, she did this without any help or nepotism from any of her elders. She did this all on her own. So I'm going to say this, Mama, we are very proud of you. We are sharing your story because it creates pride, the kind of pride that you will not understand until you become a parent in your own right. You literally take my breath away with your drive towards greatness. I'm glad that I just get to be your daddy and I don't need to win the lottery because I got you. I already won the lottery. That's my Marcus's unrelated rant. It's got nothing to do with we in here talking about tonight. End of the show. Remind everybody independence is the key to building your legacy. I also want to say peace to all of the stars and all of the squares. In the abundance of water, the fools are thirsty. Those are the words of Bob Marley, who you hear singing in the background. Authenticity has no competition. I coined that phrase 5 years ago this week. I saw it come up in my social media. I was like, well, shit. That first time I said that. I've been saying it for 5 years, but we've been doing this for 12. Just wanted to get that in there too. We are celebrating those 12 years, and in that time frame, I always want to remind you to have grace. I want you to be well, but I also want you to remember to keep it 100. Ain't no hashtag Marcus J. Live from NewDen Legacy in that radio. Be back, y'all. Peace, y'all. Peace.
Oh yeah. I'm with this, I'm just gonna lay back and I'm gonna drop some smooth lyrics. So tune in 7 to 9:30 and don't be late. About to set it straight. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Word. I'm ready. Let's go. Ain't no half stepping, that's the name of the show. Yeah. Marcus J hosting and we ready to go. Yeah. Hunter's talk sprinkle with a dash and humor to the legacy listeners and the online viewers. What you want to talk about, call and we're hearing you. Cover all topics, touch on the main issues. With the flow in this show, bring the heat. Yeah. The word on the street with the Earl on the beat. We superb in the beat, legacy online. 7 to 9:30, please be on time. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J, my brother. Yeah. If they can't hang, word to their mother. And he been on this grind for a while. Brother so smart, plus brother got style. Up in Richmond, we on the mission, before course. And listen up, this rock stage start to talk, running back. And he been on this grind for a while. The brother so smart, plus brother got style. Up in Richmond, we on the mission, before course. And listen up, this rock stage start to talk. That's the name of the show. Yeah, Marcus J hosting and we ready to go. Yeah, Hunters talk sprinkle with a dash of humor to the legacy listeners and the online viewers. What you want to talk about, call it, we're hearing you. Cover all topics, touch on the main issues. With you flowing this show, bring the heat. Yeah. The word on the street, Wizard Earl on the beat. We superb in the beat, legacy online. 7 and 9:30, please be on time. Ain't no half step with Marcus J, my brother. Yeah. If they can't hang, word to their mother. And he been on this grind for a while. Brother so smart, plus brother got style. Up in Richmond, we on the mission, before course. And listen up, this Marcus J start to talk.